Welcome to AITA subreddit 4. Am I the word? I hope you enjoy the stories. Subscribe and
AITA for telling my brother he walked himself into hole and having little sympathy for him. Throwaway account. I, 24M, have a brother, Dave, 30M, who is engaged to Tanya, 36F. Now I love my brother, I do. Although if I'm being honest, Tanya is way out of his league. She's successful, has 2 bachelors and a master's, owns her own 5-bedroom house, 2 cars, speaks 3 languages, and is pretty stylish. I honestly don't know how Dave landed her, but proposing was one of the smartest things he could have done. After they got engaged, Dave moved into Tanya's place, and in her bedroom closet she has this custom-made safe. The only reason I even know about the safe is because Dave told me and a few of his friends about it when we were out at a bar. I would have wrote it off as an interesting but unnecessary fact that I didn't need to know. One of Dave's friends, however, Carl, 30M, started to subtly probe for more information. Like, how big is the safe? What's in it? Is it one of those fancy voice-activated ones, etc.? Dave admitted to not knowing, and when asked, Tanya said that it did have important documentation, some cash, etc., but refused to let him see or give him the passcode. Big mistake, confessing that because almost everyone started giving Dave a hard time about Tanya not giving him the code, telling him that since they were going to get married he would be entitled to know, and even helped him come up with strategies to get Tanya to give in and give him the code. I spoke up a couple of times saying this didn't sound like a good idea, but was shut down because I wasn't in a relationship. Fair enough. So I left it alone. Cue the fights between Dave and Tanya about lack of trust, no honesty, and what if there was. Eventually, Tanya agreed to give him the code, but under the promise that he would only ever go in there if Tanya passed before him. Dave felt like such a big man when he told us how he won, and when he invited us all over to his place. Tanya was out of town. Carl and a few others started giving him a hard time again, thinking that he lied about Tanya not giving the passcode and wanted him to prove it. Dave eventually caved to the pressure and took everyone upstairs to open it. I stayed downstairs, but I was told what happened. When Dave opened the safe, the only thing that was in there was a note inside saying that if he ever confronted her, Tanya, about this, then the relationship would be over. No room for discussion. Carl and the others ragged on him and Dave kicked them all out while I stayed to help clean up. Dave kept ranting about how hurt and embarrassed he felt and calling Tanya manipulative and how toxic she was for setting up secret texts. Dave asked me what I thought about it and was shocked when I calmly said he had it coming. He allowed himself to be bullied by his friends to reveal potentially sensitive information, and seeing as how this place is in Tanya's name and that she's making him sign a prenup, I wouldn't test my luck if I was him. Dave called me TAMI?
AITA for overreacting after my wife lied about our baby's gender. I, 32M, and my wife, 25F, are expecting our first child. I've reacted in ways I'm now questioning and need outside perspective. Background: my childhood was a tumultuous one. Growing up, I always craved a strong male figure in my life. I never had that bond with my father and always envisioned having it with a son. My wife was aware of this deep-rooted desire. During her first pregnancy appointments, I was on an essential business trip. These trips, though draining, are critical since I'm the only breadwinner, trying to ensure a different life for my child than I had. In my absence, my wife and her adopted mother attended the checkups. Upon my return, she excitedly told me we were having a boy. We invested emotionally and financially: a blue nursery, boy-themed items, even naming him after my late grandfather. However, a chance remark from her mother disclosed we're having a girl. My wife admitted she knew from the beginning but didn't tell me, thinking she was protecting my feelings. I was devastated, feeling the weight of past hurts and fresh betrayals. In my pain, I cleared out the nursery and, in a moment I regret, told her mother she wasn't welcome at upcoming family events. Seeing her as part of the deceit, I acted out of deep-seated emotions and past traumas. I love my wife and regret my reactions, but I feel lost. AITA for how I responded.
AITA for asking my sister to pay for the damage her son caused to my artwork. I, 32F, am an artist and I recently had one of the biggest commissions of my career, a large mural for a local business. It took me weeks of planning and about 10 days of actual painting. I stored the final sketches and painted samples in my home office. Last weekend, my sister, 36F, and her family came over for a visit. She has a 6-year-old son, Ethan. While we were chatting in the living room, Ethan went off to play. A little while later, I walked into my office to find Ethan had found my watercolors and decided to add to my sketches and painted samples. He essentially ruined weeks of work. I was furious and immediately asked my sister to supervise her child more closely. My sister apologized, but when I mentioned she needed to cover the damages and the cost to redo the work, she scoffed and said it was just a drawing and that kids will be kids. The business was expecting the mural installation in less than a week. I had to work around the clock to redo everything. It cost me sleep, extra materials, and a rush fee to get some supplies delivered ASAP. My sister is now angry with me for sending her an invoice for the damages, and we haven't spoken in days. My family is divided. Some say I'm right for wanting to be compensated, while others think I'm being too harsh on a child's innocent mistake. AITA for snapping back when my friend's boyfriend commented on my bikini. I, F29, am in a group holiday with my fiancé and 3 other couples. We are renting a big villa. This story concerns my friend Casey, 30, and her boyfriend Josh, 30. For context, I don't hate Josh, but he requires a firm approach. He will try his brutal honesty stuff on you to see if you'll let him get away with it, but once you show him you won't put up with it, he calms down. That said, he's prone to some stupid remarks, so yesterday we were all having a relaxed day by the pool. I came out of the house in my bikini and Josh Wolf whistled and said, "Damn, I really chose the wrong friend," loud enough for everyone to hear. Without missing a beat, I turned to him and said, "Why are you acting like you had your pick of the litter? I would never have looked at you twice and you know it." Josh laughed off the comment and went back to reading his book, but Casey pulled me inside and yelled at me for embarrassing her and Josh. She said what I said was demeaning and I basically called Josh ugly. I was pretty stunned because actually I think what happened was Josh called me a piece of meat. We argued and I basically said that I wasn't responsible for her boyfriend's crass behavior and went back outside. Casey is still giving me the cold shoulder, as well as the 3 people who told her she was overreacting. It's making everything awkward. I don't think I'm in the wrong here, but some of the group have said I was overly cutting with what I said, considering Josh was already out of line. Basically, they said I joined him in the gutter. My fiancé says both Casey and Josh are nut jobs. Am I the one who took it too far? AITA for throwing away a hostess gift and asking my Sael if she can't listen. My family have allergies. One night where they don't have to worry and can eat everything is great. I am so frustrated. I host big dinner parties once a season. The whole family comes down and it is usually a great time. My brother is now married and he bring his wife along. I'm not besties with her, we are just polite to each other. Now the first invite she asked what she should bring and I told her nothing, just show up and have a good time. Well, she brought food. I thought she was just being polite, and I reiterate to not bring food since if throws off the menu I made and I don't know what's in it and some relatives have allergies. You would think problem was solved. Nope. Next time she brought more food. I told her again to not bring anything, and if she really wants to bring a hostess gift, bring wine. We had our summer dinner, and before that she asked what wines would be good for dinner. I told her a white wine and told her again she doesn't have to bring anything, just being here is a great. Please don't bring food. I assumed she would bring wine, which would be fine. She shows up with cornbread. I was so done at this point that when she was with the others I threw it away and just moved on with the night. She noticed the cornbread wasn't served and confronted me later in the night. I told her I threw it away and she got mad at me. We got into an argument about how I should be grateful I am helping her out and me asking if she can't listen, since children can do it but apparently she can't. She called me a jerk and my brother is mad at me. I don't get why I should be grateful since she is causing that problem and fucking up my menu. AITA for telling my husband I don't care what the doctor says. I 38F have been married to my husband 41M for 10 years. We have been together for 12. He told me today when he got home from work at 8 p.m. that he passed out at work. He told me the medics were called and now he has to go to the doctor to get blood work done. He did not call me and asked his co-workers not to call me because he didn't want me to worry. It really hurt my feelings. This comes after an accident that happened just after we started dating. He was involved in a serious explosion that caused first and second degree burns on the right side of his face and arm. He didn't call me until he was getting discharged from the hospital as I was not listed as an emergency contact yet. I explained to him after that accident that I would have liked to been there for support, to talk to doctors, to ask questions, to learn aftercare and anything else that was important information. Well, after he told me about today's incident, he began asking what I think it could have been, what it could be, what the doctor might say, and so on. I told him if you didn't care enough to let me know something was wrong when it was wrong, don't care enough to care now. Am I the asshole? Edit to add, after reading comments I must add he called his best friend while being assessed by medics. His co-workers wanted to call me, but he said no. AITA my sister-in-law told me that my mother had died when she hadn't and I refused to forgive her. I work on a site which requires no chance of sparks due to the nature of the business, so all phones are locked away. About 8 weeks ago, I got to my phone while preparing to go home and saw that, in the time since dinner, I had received 13 calls and voicemails and a lot of WhatsApp messages asking me to contact my brothers. After ringing the missed calls and trying to get an idea of what was wrong, I got hold of my sister-in-law who told me that my mother had a routine operation and was dead. I was totally in shock. I tried contacting my brothers who were at the hospital, but reception there was very poor. When I finally got to the hospital, almost 2 hours later due to distance and traffic, I finally found my mother and brothers in ICU, which I thought was strange. They were behind curtains and I noticed that my mother had oxygen being pumped into her and asked my brother about it and was told it was a comfort thing. Next thing that happened was my mother slowly moving her hands. I nearly jumped out of my skin thinking that my mother was a zombie coming back to life. After being calmed, I was told that her vital signs began dropping at the end of the operation and the decision was made to withdraw life support because my brothers did not want her to suffer any more pain. I spent the next day in the hospital watching her slowly die while seething about being told a massive lie. At the funeral, my sister-in-law walked up and said she wanted a hug because I was sad. I politely told her that I wasn't in the mood. On my way out of the wake, I shook everyone's hand except hers and it upset her, so am I the asshole?
AITA for telling my BL I wouldn't invite his kids over anytime soon. My wife, 26F, and I, 27F, moved to a new house. We thought we'd throw a dinner party and invite both sides of our families. We used to live in a different state for 5 years and now is our opportunity to catch up with our loved ones. My BL has 2 kids, Daniel, 5M and Rosie 3F. These kids were absolutely horrible during the entire dinner and their parents did not say a single word or even try to control them. Just to name a few examples, they moved pillows from sofas and chairs, spilled drinks and food on different surfaces, threw an orange on my Persian carpet, sat on it, made it explode and spread the orange on the carpet with their hands. Broke 2 glasses, and overall ran around, shouting and screaming. I was the youngest in the family, and I didn't see kids much in my entire life. But this was horrifying to me and I was so pissed at my BL and his wife for just watching their kids do these things and not saying anything. I told my wife to talk to her brother. She was as pissed as I was. However, she said she already talked to him but he said they were just kids and that's how kids grow up. He also said he wanted them to have a strong sense of self-confidence. While we were all saying goodbye, BL told his kids now that your aunties live nearby will come visit often. I said no, I don't think that's going to happen very soon. BIL was confused and asked why. I said because we actually love the peace and comfort in our home and these guys are a little cute tsunami. This made both BIL and his wife angry. He called me an entitled brat, and told my wife she was a horrible host. My friends think I was too rough. So I thought I'd ask. Ida?
My boyfriend was not present for this. I told him what happened and he was furious because the groom told him to call me to come home. But the bride and groom were so drunk that night they don't remember it. I've been sitting on this for a few days and I'm losing my mind here. It never felt right being at the party. My boyfriend has my back and said they were just drunk and they'll get over it. They canceled on our plans tonight but still went without us and posted stories at the restaurant we were supposed to go to. So they're still angry. I know typically I'd never be invited to a bachelor party so I'm torn on this. DR my boyfriend hosted a bachelor party at our house. I was told I could come home, and when I did the party was still ongoing. I mingled and helped out with hosting duties but didn't partake in much partying. A month later, the bride and groom are now angry I was there, called me out at their wedding and are now canceling plans with us. AITA for going to a bachelor party that I, 27F, wasn't invited to and defending myself about it. Backstory: 1 month ago, my boyfriend's, 29M, best friend is getting married and he is a groomsman. He was asked to host the bachelor party at our house. I planned to spend the day out of the house. I got a text from my BF saying that I could come back anytime after 5. I came home around 6:30. When I get home, everyone is still there along with several girlfriends and the fiancé. I thought the party ended earlier than anticipated but it did not. TBH, I felt uncomfortable because it was a bachelor party which is usually just men. But I was told I could come home and there were other girls there so I tried to embrace it. I mingled and helped my BF with hosting, went for a beer/drink run, made sure enough snacks were out, drove drunk people home at the end of the night, etc. I wasn't really involved in the party activities which I was fine with because I did feel weird being there. Present day/this past weekend, we're at the wedding reception. I don't even remember how it came up in conversation. Bride and groom loudly announce that I crashed the bachelor party and how much of a jerk move that is. Only the wedding party was invited and that's who all the girlfriends were. I didn't put this together at the time of the party. I was stunned. But I stood up for myself and said that my BF told me I could come home. So I did, and not even right away. They said the invite should have came from them, not my BF. To which I said they should be mad at my BF then, not me. I also pointed out that aside from hosting and mingling, I stayed out of their way. Just because I was home, and in another room, doesn't mean I crashed it. I live there. They got increasingly upset at my statement and said it was their wedding day and they don't want to argue about it. Fine, end of conversation. I didn't even know it was an issue until that interaction.
Welcome to AITA subreddit 4. Am I the word? I hope you enjoy the stories. Subscribe and like it. Let us go.